safest hands are still our own. I was wrong about you. The whole world was wrong about you. They're coming for you.
Nice. There's Captain America going head-to-head with Iron Man in Marvel's newest movie launching into theaters this weekend, Captain America: Civil War. The film is expected to open the summer box office season with a bang, and many think it could land a spot in the top 5 box office openings of all time. 3 other Marvel films are already on that list: The Avengers, Avengers: Age of Ultron, and Iron Man 3. Here to discuss all things Captain America, CBS News contributor Jamie Wax. What's up?
Man, does that make your geek heart pound or what?
I'm actually
like
bummed that we didn't see like some of the other cool trailers like Spider-Man and Black Panther appearing. So you haven't seen it, but you've spoken to many people who have.
Yes, I mean, I've been doing research on a story about this and talked to many critics, many fanboys who've already seen it, and universally, it is loved. Everybody's excited about it. They're excited about the introduction of other characters, particularly Spider-Man.
Right.
Everybody's saying they got Spider-Man right, and that this is a great precursor to the eventual Disney's Marvel version of Spider-Man.
With Tom Holland, right? A very youngish Peter
That's right.
Parker.
I mean, he's a young, geeky teen, and I mean, that's always been something that drew me as a teenager to the comics. And I mean, although they got close with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, they didn't quite get the real awkwardness of being a teenager that was in the original comics. And supposedly with this, they really have. So I'm looking forward to that.
So I think a lot of people are in need, I know I am, of a little pick-me-up after Superman versus Batman, Batman versus Superman, which was sort of meant to be similarly to what they did with the Marvel Universe, which is to launch the Justice League. But this seems like everybody's saying that this is going to blow away anything we've seen in the comic book movie.
Absolutely. Look, let's talk about that, because the divide between comic book fans and critics has never been as deep or as nasty as it was for Batman versus Superman.
Right.
It actually raised a lot of interesting cultural questions right now about the relevance of film critics in this type of film, this type of mass appeal, particularly with a comic book as source material. Do critics matter? I mean, if you look at the numbers, Batman versus Superman had a 28% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's pretty
very,
horrible.
Very dismal,
That's like
right?
up there with like, Geely or something.
And I mean, of course, that site aggregates all the critics' reviews and comes up with a percentage. So 28%, but its cinema score was a B. So fans were really pushing. They pushed so hard to make that opening weekend a success, which they did. It was just shy of 170 million. It was the biggest opening weekend for a superhero film ever, and right up there with the other big ones that you mentioned. And then it had the biggest drop off for a second week in history of a film like that.
Right, because people saw it and they said,
That's right, 81%. So this will not make, if this film is as good as they say, now this one has a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes as opposed to the 28%, which means it's one of the best reviewed films so far of the year of any kind, and it's not going to make the DC fans who think Marvel's paying off critics or had some of these other silly conspiracy theories, it's not going to make them very happy.
What's fascinating, Jamie, and you know this, is that, Marvel, so I grew up, I mean, DC was more in my life when I was a little kid. This is like 1975. So DC was huge, and in anticipation of Christopher Reeve in the first Superman movie. But then Marvel has always been sort of the thinking man's comic book, right?
That's right.
The thinking teens.
They introduced a lot of real conflict. And,
exactly. Teen angst and those kind of things. But it seems like even now with the films, Marvel is getting it right. Because when you watch some of the DC films, okay, Christopher Nolan and the Batman films, we get that.
They stand alone as a trilogy.
They stand alone as its own thing. It's not even, some would argue it's not a comic book film. But when you see what happened with Superman and Batman, or even the first Superman, people say, well, Superman doesn't kill civilians. He doesn't smash entire cities to bits. And the Marvel movies seem to be able to get that right.
I think so. I think they're able to add inner conflict and a contemporary morality tale to the stories of these characters without crushing sort of what the heart of people love about them is. And that's what some people say about the Zack Snyder Superman especially, is that something elemental about that character is missing from those films.
Right. The other thing that's pretty cool is this movie will have several African-American superheroes, like characters that are portrayed by African-American actors, including Black Panther, which I've wanted to see on TV in movies since since he first sort of like blew my mind, including War Machine, played by Don Cheadle, and Anthony Mackie as the Falcon. So that's kind of unique too. You don't see a lot of that in the DC films.
No, it's very exciting, and I think that reflects Marvel's diversity as well of characters. I think there's a lot of exciting things about this. You know, you talk about Superman. The great thing about superhero films, we have a saying down south, you know, if you don't like the weather, just wait a while, it'll change. Don't worry. But the thing is, if you don't like an incarnation of your favorite superhero, just wait a while because they'll reboot it.
They'll reboot it for
Don't
sure.
worry.
For sure, for sure. Yeah. Well, I'm dying to see this. You're probably going tonight,
I
right?
am. I'm really looking forward to it.
Even geekier than I am. I'm probably going to hit it this
quite
weekend.
An honor.
Yeah, it is. I give you the badge of CBSN geek.
Thank you.
I conferred upon you, Sir Jamie. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Wyatt.
it.